Welcome to this week's Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We have a great show for you. We have Attorney General Dave Sunday and your State Treasurer Stacey Garrity. Much more when we come back on Pennsylvania Newsmakers.
Welcome to the fast-paced and unrehearsed weekly discussion featuring the leaders who help shape your world. Join us as we address the issues that impact you each and every day. This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And now, here's your host.
Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We have a tremendous show for you today, starting out with your Pennsylvania Attorney General, Dave Sunday. And what I want to do today is get into some significant topics that are facing Pennsylvanians, but I want to start with the recent arson attempt that was held at the governor's residence. I think many of us woke up and went through last Sunday expecting to join the Masters, but it took a different turn. And watching that horrific incident take place, what was your reaction as the top law enforcement official in Pennsylvania? What was your reaction? What does that message send about public safety right now in Pennsylvania?
Well, to begin with, it's great to be here, Luke. I appreciate that question. You know, to start with, I have to say that I'm a career prosecutor. And as a prosecutor, I immediately went directly in my mind to the victims. You know, the impact on the victims, what that must have been like in the middle of the night to get that knock on the door, your house is on fire, and with your children in the home, to be pulled out of the house like that. I mean, I'm, a father just like you are, and I immediately, my heart sunk thinking about that. So to begin with, my heart goes out to the Shapiro family and anyone else that was in the house, anyone impacted by this, because the reality is I think all Pennsylvanians are impacted by this. And so that's immediately where my initial thoughts went to. Obviously, the next step is who did it, why did they do it, build the case to make sure that they can be held accountable and to make sure that this hopefully will never happen again.
So what is that? What do those next steps look like in a situation like this? Because in a normal case, it's not as high profile. In this case, steps are largely the same, but there's a lot of scrutiny, a lot of attention. How does this process play out in a normal fashion and in this particular instance?
Well, I can tell you again from being a career prosecutor that regardless of the noise around an investigation, I mean, these are highly trained investigators at the Pennsylvania State Police, highly trained prosecutors at the Dauphin County District Attorney's Office, and they are used to methodically going through an investigation without really a care or concern for the noise around it. And that is the only way that something like this has to be done. And so they're investigating the case. They're determining the facts. I'm sure that they are taking a deep dive into every single part of it. And then once that's done, then justice will move forward.
Well, so as Attorney General, you have really oversight over a lot of different things there. Your background is tremendous. I think most people think about an Attorney General and they think came from Ivy League, blue blood. You really worked your way up every step of the way, even working at nights at UPS to get to that role. Congratulations to you.
That. Thank
Incredible
you very much.
Success story. I think so many people were rooting for your success because of just how hard you worked to get there. And the office is a wonderful opportunity to really represent Pennsylvania, but to make sure justice is carried out in the state. Just share with our viewers, what does the Office of Attorney General do?
So to the first point you made real quick, I just want to say that, when I was going through that, for anyone out there who's, doing the best they can, working like 3 jobs to get through life, just know that, it does pay off, that it can pay off. And that I was always concerned, to your point, when I was going through that it would impact my legal career. I just didn't know what that would look like, but it turned out that it was one of the best things I could have ever done because, I can relate to normal people and like what life's like. And so that's been helpful to me.
I think worked out okay.
So, but with regard to the Attorney General's office, to your point, I mean, the breadth of that office is so vast. And to begin with, there's a huge criminal component. So the AG's office right away, I mean, the largest part of it with regard to personnel is the criminal section. Okay, and that encompasses cases that we may get from a district attorney's office, be it a conflict, or a district attorney may not have the resources for that type of investigation, or for whatever reason they decide that maybe it's multi-county, maybe it might go into another state, and they need the resources of the Attorney General to handle it, so we handle those cases. There's a lot of other cases that we handle by statute. And so anything that comes out of the statewide investigating grand jury is something that the Attorney General handles. We have the ability to prosecute corrupt organizations, which is the state racketeering statute, for lack of a better way to put it. Sure. We have the ability to prosecute, obviously, public corruption. We do tons of investigations with regard to illegal drug cases, illegal gun cases. We are really all over the state and in a lot of different ways. Human trafficking. We have a human trafficking section. We have an organized retail theft section, and it goes on and on. And so that's the criminal side of it.
So now that we know what the office does, we're going to learn a little bit more about some specific areas when we come back. So don't go away this week on Newsmakers.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to this week's Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm here with a very special guest, Attorney General Dave Sunday, and we just talked about what the Office of Attorney General oversees. One of the areas I want to drill down on is Medicaid fraud. So recently, your office was ranked first in the nation for the number of Medicaid fraud charges and third for convictions. What's driving that success, and why is that so important for Pennsylvanians?
I would say that success is being driven without question by the hardworking attorneys, the hardworking investigators that work in that unit. We have outstanding public servants that work in there that do everything they can to identify these cases. These cases are oftentimes extremely complex. Sometimes they're not easy to prove, but we put everything we have into it. And I think right off the bat, credit goes to them. I mean, anytime someone steals to begin with and takes something that's not theirs is bad just to begin with. These are cases where individuals are essentially stealing your taxpayer dollars. I mean, that money, that's our taxpayer dollars, goes to Medicaid and a lot of other things, obviously. And it's just a huge issue. We recently had a large arrest where someone was billing, it was close to, I think, $30,000, saying that they provided services for an individual. That individual was dead and deceased. And so, but we're on top of it. We take it very seriously. I mean, the impacts of crime like this on the community are vast, and it's critical, and I take it very seriously, and I know my predecessors did as well.
I think that's the challenge, because when you have fraud like this, it affects the whole system.
It does,
and it just drives up the cost for everybody. Yes. And so if you're not there to stop it, it will continue. So really excited to see the proactive approach there. Another one that's similar to this is organized retail theft, and you're seeing this a lot. You recently joined a national coalition of attorneys general working on this issue. Can you talk about how you're tackling organized retail theft here in Pennsylvania?
Well, we have an organized retail theft section. I mean, and the reality is when someone thinks about organized retail theft, I want to make sure they understand that it's not just what you see with one or two smash and grabs. Oftentimes, these are it's a tip of the iceberg of larger criminal organizations. You may have a human trafficking component to organized retail theft. You may have a corrupt organization component to it. You may have a fentanyl trafficking component to it. I mean, it's just one part, oftentimes, of larger criminal schemes. And so it is absolutely crucial that we do everything we can to investigate and prosecute these cases. It also impacts the businesses. I mean, I couldn't even imagine if you have a business and anyone at any time could just come and smash, the window, come in, take things they want. I mean, could you imagine the world that we would live in if that was acceptable? And to the Attorney General's office, it's not acceptable, and to me, it's not either.
Well, that's great to hear. And I want to ask you one question. So many consumers watching this today, what are some of the biggest consumer threats that you're seeing right now? What should people be aware of?
I'm going to tell you, it is, and this is not hyperbole, it is without question, senior citizens we have to do everything we can, not only to tackle that on the side of the criminals that are trying to scam seniors, but on the side of prevention. I've challenged my office to try to come up with new ways, thinking outside of the box, ways to tackle technology, either to help us to help seniors or to determine how technology is being used to scam them in the first place. When you think of AI and all the wonderful things that come with that, there's oftentimes a lot of bad things that come as well. And so the bad guys are using AI to make it even harder for citizens and seniors in particular to identify if something's a scam or not. This is a huge issue.
So we have a few seconds left. Okay. Where can people go to learn more about being proactive or learning about these types of scams?
Well, they go to a couple places. I would start off with the Attorney General's office. Go to www.attorneygeneral.gov. Go to our website and check out the different sections. You can go there to the section on that protects seniors, and you can go into the consumer protection section. You can go to the AARP website. But there's a lot of information out there for people, and that's the first step, is being knowledgeable about it.
You heard it here. Go to the attorneygeneral.gov or .com?
.gov.
attorneygeneral.gov to learn more. And we're going to have more when we come back with Pennsylvania State Treasurer Stacey Garrity.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Cross-State Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, go to ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We have a very special guest with us, State Treasurer Stacey Garrity. Treasurer Garrity, you have broad overview of a lot of responsibilities here in Pennsylvania, and your office oversees more than $170 billion of state funds. Can you give us a sense of the responsibilities of the Treasurer's office and as you as Treasurer?
Absolutely. But first, Luke, it's so great to be here with you this morning.
Wonderful to have you here.
Yes. And so, yes, I'm the fiscal watchdog for $170 billion. And of that $170 billion, my office invests directly about $51 billion. We also run unclaimed property, so that's $4.5 billion of money that I say does not belong to the state. It belongs to the hardworking Pennsylvanians that earn it, so we're trying to get it back to them. We also run the PA 529 College and Career Savings Program, the PA ABLE program that helps our people with disabilities save money so they can have more financial freedom. And we also make every payment in the state. That's almost 19 million payments. Fun fact, 3 payments a second. Now, I'll tell you what we don't do, because sometimes it gets a little confusing. So we do not handle taxes or look at tax returns. That is the Department of Revenue. We also do not determine eligibility for property tax rebate. That's also Department of Revenue. But what we do is make the payments, and we get them out in 1 to 2 days as soon as we get the file. And we do not determine eligibility for unemployment compensation. That's labor and industry. But again, we do make the payments.
2 things really quickly. You talked about unclaimed property.
Yes.
With that, can you give us just 10, 15 seconds of where people can go to see and try and get that property returned to them?
Absolutely. So all they have to do is go to patreasury.gov/unclaimed property. pop in their name, and if there's money waiting for them, it takes about 2 minutes to file a claim.
It's that easy.
It's that easy.
Perfect. So you heard, go to get your unclaimed property today. All right, I want to talk about a program called Money Match. What is Money Match? How does it work? And why is this such a game changer?
Yes, I love Money Match. It actually eliminates red tape from government. How great is that?
Wonderful.
I know.
Sounds great so far.
Exactly. So Money Match allows Treasury to proactively return unclaimed property to people. So no more filling out forms, no more filing a claim. And so as long as you're a single owner and we can verify your address, up to $500, we return automatically. First time we've ever been able to do that. That just kicked in January. So the first Money Match checks went out about 3 weeks ago. So we sent about 7,000 checks, totaling $1.7 million.
So as Treasurer, that has to be so gratifying for you because it's people getting things that rightfully belong to them.
Absolutely.
And it's in state coffers, essentially, sitting there, but you're returning it much faster to the rightful owner.
Exactly. So it really is a game changer. And the next notification letters are going out, 40,000. In the middle of May. So really excited. We're going to do this every single quarter.
So one of the things I want to talk about is the new state tax appeals process that took effect. This gives taxpayers more time to file, created new options for mediated settlements. Can you tell us a little bit about the improvements that were made and any updates you might have on the whole tax appeals process?
Absolutely. So this is another fantastic program to really help taxpayers. And it just kicked in at the end of January. So I'm super excited about it. So in the past, you had 60 days to file an appeal for PIT, your personal income taxes. So instead of 60 days, now there is 90 days to file the appeal. And this is why this is so important. So in the past, there was a lady that was undergoing very aggressive cancer treatment, so she filed her tax appeal late. Board of Finance and Revenue could not legally consider it, even though...
Doesn't seem right.
No, and it causes no harm to the Commonwealth. In another instance, there was, it was an automotive repair shop, and they accidentally filed their appeal to the Department of Revenue instead of the Board of Finance and Revenue.
So we're gonna come back, but we're gonna stay on this topic and talk about other ways that the state treasurer is working to ensure that your tax dollars are protected here in Pennsylvania on Pennsylvania Newsmakers after this break.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania American Water. We keep life flowing across the Keystone State.
And we're back with Pennsylvania's Treasurer Stacey Garrity. We left off talking about the tax appeals process that has just been updated. And so many of us that just went through the painstaking process of paying our taxes, this is an expedited appeals process that's a little more streamlined. And you were talking about some Pennsylvanians that previously had problems, but the new appeals process would be more streamlined and more taxpayer friendly. Can you finish up talking about that process?
Absolutely. So in addition to you being allowed to appeal now up to 90 days instead of the previous 60 days, now we can offer a mediated settlement to taxpayers who are going through their appeal at no cost to the taxpayer. And why this is huge is that in the past, you know, and this is really for mom and pops. I mean, that's what's really going to benefit. So in the past, they would be dragged through this long period and then end up in Commonwealth Court, have litigation expenses, and now we can direct a mediated settlement. And so we think this is going to help 5,000 taxpayers a year. And you know what? It's going to save the Commonwealth about $36 million, and it's going to help the taxpayer.
Well,
so
the tax system, it's just so complicated. So hearing this and allowing those that are people to really go out and have some assistance confidence is really significant. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is you've gotten a lot of praise recently about bringing common sense and business-friendly approaches to the Treasurer's office. What's next on your agenda? What does the efficiency play look like? How do you work to improve efficiency and service at the Treasurer's office? So
thanks for that question. Yeah, we've been on a roll, and I want to keep it going. So we hit a 2-year record returning unclaimed property, $500 million. Reduced fees for our PA 529 plan by $17 million, money that goes right back into the pockets of hardworking parents and grandparents. We've hit records in PA Able, so offering, we've passed the $150 million threshold, and assets have tripled in the last 3 years. And we've returned 491 military decorations, including 12 Purple Hearts, 3 Bronze Stars, and the first ever Gold Star medal. So going forward, we want to continue getting more unclaimed property out, and we'll be able to do that with Money Match. We're going to continue cutting fees for PA 529 and PA Able, and building bipartisan relationships all across the state.
You know, just imagine being that family that didn't get that Purple Heart of a grandfather or grandmother that rightfully earned it, and the emotional moment of getting that back must be incredible.
It is, and as a veteran myself, getting these medals back is really near and dear to my heart.
So, question for you. You've been a strong voice for responsible fiscal management. And from your perspective, we've seen the governor has proposed his budget, and you've seen the recent hearings that have taken place in the Appropriations Department. So now, governor proposed the budget. It's in the House and Senate. Most people think Treasurer's office does the budget. How do you think the governor's budget proposal is in relation to the state's long-term fiscal health?
So unfortunately, Luke, it's not good. So if you look at the IFO's projections, we blow through the rainy day fund.
IFO, Independent Fiscal Office.
Yep. So we blow through the entire rainy day fund in 2 years. Now, if you don't like the IFO's numbers, let's just look at the governor's numbers. So he has a 7-year projection. Every single year we run a deficit, which means that we spend more than we bring in. So imagine, trying to run your family budget, based on that type of model. And using the governor's numbers, in 2 years, we blow through more than half of the rainy day fund.
So if our families did that, we would take on additional debt.
Absolutely.
So the state does that, we take on additional debt, right?
Absolutely. So 2 things. You'd either have to cut programs that are so vital to, our hardworking Pennsylvanians, or raise taxes.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, we have a little bit of time. I want to talk about, you talked about the 529 plans, and you've been able to increase that and talk about getting and encouraging investment in the 529. Where do people go as those who have kids thinking about college or thinking about planning? Where can people go to learn more about the 529 plans?
PA529.gov, or you can go to patreasury.gov, and you'll have a link for the PA 529.
Okay. One of the final question I have for you is there's been a lot of talk, a lot of buzz, and you have this every year, people thinking and encouraging you to run for governor. Are you running for governor?
Well, I'm thinking about it, but first of all, I want to say, my thoughts and prayers are with the governor and Lori and the kids after that horrific attack on the most holy day of the Passover. And so, there's no room for violence anywhere. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. But yes, I'm thinking about it, and the reason I'm thinking about it is because I think we're at a crossroads in Pennsylvania. And you just heard me talk about, where we're at fiscally. And the only way I think to turn things around is to really capture the liquid gold we have under our feet. We have to address education. And I think we need, somebody that can do that. And with my background in the military and my private sector experience, I think I'm well positioned.
You heard it here first from Pennsylvania Treasurer Stacey Garrity. And with that, we want to wish all of our viewers who celebrated Passover, happy Passover. Those celebrating Easter, happy Easter. And we'll be back next week. Thank you.